Hello everyone, this is Robert Chalmers and welcome back to my YouTube channel. All Bible Prophecy is Fulfilled. In this video today I just wanted to make a really short, quick video that is basically an overview of full preterism. This channel is from the full preterist position of eschatology. What that position believes is that Jesus' second coming was in 70 AD. The resurrection and judgment happened at that time, as well as the new heavens and earth. It's also the belief that all Bible prophecy was fulfilled in 70 AD. So from a history standpoint, everything in the Bible, at least prophecy-wise, has been fulfilled in 70 AD. And so there's nothing left as far as end-time prophecy or anything like that that needs to be fulfilled, because that was all finished back in 70 AD. So going to the next slide, there's just a few slides here. It's just a very short presentation. Just want to give an overview of full preterism. So the old heavens and earth passed away at that time, of course, if the new heavens and earth is Christ's kingdom. The old covenant that God had with Israel ended at that time. If you look in passages like Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 13, it's the last verse of Hebrews chapter 8. It says that it's talking about the two different covenants in Hebrews chapter 8. And at the end of Hebrews 8, in verse 13, it says that what has become obsolete, referring to the old covenant, is becoming obsolete and is ready to pass away. So it hadn't quite passed away yet, but it had been made obsolete by Jesus through the cross, but it was still in effect. If you look in Acts chapter 21, verses 18 through 26, you will see the apostles still keeping the law, probably 15-20 years after Jesus had already ascended. They weren't keeping it for salvation purposes, of course, but they were still observing it, just out of love for the Lord. Probably not keeping the sacrifices part, obviously, since Jesus is the final sacrifice, but they were definitely still observing it. Paul comes down from the Gentiles and is speaking to James and the elders of the church in this passage here in Acts 21, and they tell him to, keep the law and not walk disorderly, basically, because there's rumors going around that Paul's telling other Jews, not to observe the law. And of course, for salvation purposes, salvation is only through faith in Christ. But the apostles and disciples were still keeping the law and giving offerings and different things like that. And you can find that in Acts 21. Peter says it in Acts 9 when he's told to rise, Peter, kill and eat. And he says, "Not so, Lord, nothing unclean has ever entered my mouth." So you could tell there from that passage that he's still keeping kosher in his diet. He's still keeping the law in that regard. So that was getting ready to pass away, which it did in 70 AD with the destruction of Jerusalem. Obviously, without the temple, it's very difficult to keep the Mosaic ordinances and laws. And that was God's signal to the world that the church was His true people, and that Jesus was who He said He was and is, and by destroying the rebellious Jewish people and tearing down their temple. And in Matthew 5, you see this also, where Jesus says that He did not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill the law. And heaven and earth would not pass away until that was accomplished. It's very interesting that He uses that phrase, heaven and earth. A lot of people think of that as the physical passing of the heaven and earth, but it is not, and I do hope to show that in a video very soon. And so if you look at Luke 21 verse 22 and compare it to what is said in Matthew 5, 17 and 18, all things are being fulfilled at the fall of Jerusalem, everything that's written, so that the law can pass away, because Jesus says there in Matthew 5 that not one jot or one tittle of the law can pass away until everything is fulfilled, which Luke 21 says is being fulfilled at the destruction of Jerusalem. So people, they'll ask me, how can you believe this? The earth is still here. We don't have glorified bodies. Jesus obviously hasn't come back. And the simple answer to that is that these are spiritual fulfillments and not physical fulfillments. And I hope to address this in another video coming up very soon with examples from the Bible where it's very normal as humans to take things that we are told in the Bible that are spiritual, and we want to turn them into physical things. It's just it's a very natural way of thinking, and so because of that, I believe that's why the church has missed this for the last 2,000 years for the most part. They're still looking for a physical, visible coming of Jesus, but he came spiritually in 70 AD and established his kingdom forever. There is no need for him to come back anymore because all things have been accomplished in the first century, in his first coming at the cross, and then 40 years later, after that second Exodus generation, at the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, when everything that was written was fulfilled. So this is just a very brief overview of full preterism, and so I hope to address all of these issues and expound upon them in more detail in future videos. Thank you for watching and listening to this video. God bless everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And Lord willing, I will see you in the next video.